Bet on Bears fans, another edition of the Chicago Bears podcast coming your way. Pat the Designer back at it again from my son's room yet again. Don't worry about that. We appreciate you guys for tuning in and showing love as always. On today's episode, got a little bit of an update here on Jaylon Johnson and on Kyler Gordon from Coach Ben Johnson today. Got to talk about that. And where do we feel Caleb Williams is currently ranking within the NFC North quarterback rankings right now? Got to talk about all that and more on today's episode of the Chicago Bears podcast. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. Today's episode, as always, brought to you by Underdog. Make picks, win money. Appreciate you guys for supporting the channel as always, man. I am excited to be having this conversation today on a couple of different fronts. One, we got some injury updates, but also just the fact that, hey, is anybody just still excited that we're 6-3? Is anybody just looking around going, what the heck is happening right now? We're in Chi-Town, USA right now, ladies and gentlemen. Bulls still above 500. I know three-game losing streak. Don't worry about it. We'll get that back on track tonight versus the Detroit Pistons. If I could beat anybody, I'd love to beat Detroit. And also, I mean, you've got the Blackhawks just looking phenomenal. And on top of that, the Bears are 6-3. Bear down. Let's go. I need Chi-Town stand up in the comments, man. Let's jump into this update though, man, because I feel like, you know, we got some good news on one front and maybe a little bit of a pushback. You know, Ben Johnson kind of went a little bit back and forth on the second part here. But as far as the Jaylon Johnson conversation, Ben was talking about how, you know, he saw Jaylon in the workout room today. We saw the Instagram post. If you didn't, Jaylon Johnson kind of posted on his Instagram showing him working out, trying to get himself back in action and feeling like, you know, he was going to be back this season. Ben Johnson kind of echoed those sentiments today when he talked about, you know, where he was at, and he felt like Jaylon Johnson, the expectation right now that they're working with, and things could change, there could be setbacks and workouts and different things like that, but that he could possibly be back for the Chicago Bears by the end of the regular season here, which I think is, you know, a massive update from where we were at. The hope was kind of, you know, he could come back if the Chicago Bears were going to make the playoffs, and maybe he could play in a playoff game for you, but you were kind of waffling on that. But how Ben made it sound today sounded like you could get your number one defensive back here back onto the field by the end of this season, and that would be massive for the Chicago Bears. Now, does by the end of this season mean the Detroit Lions game, which is the last game of the season? I don't know that part yet. But here's the thing, where you're at right now with the DB position on the field, it's so great that you've gotten C.J. Gardner-Johnson into the building. Don't know what the outlook of is on Kyler Gordon. We'll talk about that a little bit here in a minute. But, like, there is this feeling that you truly are just stars that you have on your team already away from being back to being that defense that at a minimum could hold its own on the field. And with the offense that you have built right now, that's really all you're looking for. I wasn't hoping that this defense was going to be top 3 in the NFL, although with some of the acquisitions and the money that you paid, you were hoping that you could figure some of those things out. But when you talk about, you know, pairing an offense that is top 10 in the NFL right now, pretty rock solid top 10, doesn't seem like it's going to move in the first year here of Ben Johnson, with a defense that's, let's say, is top 15. You know what I mean? Maybe they're coming in at 15. Like, that's a conversation where now you're talking about, wow, how far could this team possibly go if they were to make the playoffs? And I do think Jaylon Johnson brings that to the team. If you could get him back in here early enough, and there's going to take some work for that, but if you could get him back in here early enough, I think having a number one DB that you could put out there on an island like Dennis Allen wants to do and say, hey, this is your matchup. We can forget about it. We're going to eliminate that side of the field. Now we get to focus kind of and have this DB by committee here with Tyreek, Nashawn Wright, and some of those guys working their way back in. Like, that would be a big boost in the right direction here for the Chicago Bears defensively. And I think it would be, with how you've got the rest of this schedule, you know, finishing out, I think it would give you a little bit of peace of mind, especially when you get to the tail end of that schedule. Again, don't know when Jaylon Johnson is going to be back. But I mean, if you get him back, let's say by December 20th here for that Packer game, or even going into that 49ers game, right? Like, now you're talking about, hopefully you're still in a playoff push at that point, and you've got him back for an impactful game where you're able to go out there and have him match up against Christian Watson, Matthew Golden. Like, you're in a favorable situation as far as the receiver matchup, and especially depending on what Detroit does by the end of the season, if they've got those number one guys going, it would be a big difference to have him out there in that game on a guy like Amon-Ra or on Jameson Williams, right? So we don't know what it's going to be. The outlook being good, I think, changes kind of the mindset of this defense. And, hopefully you're able to just kind of hold your own until you get to that point. And if you can get him back a couple of games before the season and get him ramped up for the playoffs, dog, like, it could change the entire outlook of how far this Bears team could go in the playoffs. Now, on the flip side of that, the conversation around Kyler Gordon, maybe kind of in that same time range. Now, he was a little bit on two ends of the spectrum on the Kyler Gordon conversation. When he brought him up, he said, we're kind of hoping to get both of those guys back by the end of the season. At first, the thought process was that you were going to get Kyler back, before or where it wasn't worth it to put him on IR. So he wouldn't have missed those 4 weeks. But Kyler ended up going out, I believe, in that Ravens game. You've now played 2 games without him. And you were thinking, at least in my mindset, that you were getting Kyler back probably in the next couple of weeks. Ben Johnson at first said that they expected to get kind of both of those guys back towards the end of the season. He then kind of finished it up saying, it still didn't seem worth it to throw him on IR. And the hope is that you're going to be on the short term of that. But I would assume you're probably going to be still a few weeks away with that update on Kyler Gordon. It doesn't seem like, my thought was you get him back for the Steelers game and you figure out, who do you throw outside between him and CJ, and you've got some great things working in that mix. Doesn't seem like that's going to be the conversation now, as the update still feels like Kyler Gordon is a little bit of a ways away here. And that's a tough blow to this defense overall. And that's great that you've gone out and you found a guy like CJ Gardner-Johnson. But to me, right, you get Kyler Gordon back, you figure out which one's the better for you to put on the outside, because I think you need a ton of help on the outside right now. Tyreek Stevenson's play, while it had bounced back earlier in the season, I feel like he struggled mightily as the season has gone on a little bit further in that number one role. Not to say you would swap him out with Kyler, but you have to decide between him and Deshaun Wright which you feel better about. The impact for me with Deshaun Wright, he's somebody who reads the quarterback's eyes. You can tell he's going through the tape and he's going to gamble. The problem with that gamble is if you beat him over the top, it's GG's, because, he's gambling on the play maybe a little bit too much underneath because he thinks he's seeing one thing and maybe the quarterback ends up going with something else. So to me, getting those two back or having those two together, a Kyler Gordon and a CJ Gardner-Johnson, gives you more of an opportunity to say, hey, we feel good about this guy being able to step in and play on the outside and at least give us a different option than what we've worked with to this point in the season. A big difference also, though, and I know a lot of people, that Giants game was one that was a little bit more ugly, but I think a lot of people hold on to what we saw in the Bengals game as the biggest issue with this DB group. And I'll be honest with you, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, I can't hold too much against you. Problem is, you got this week coming up against the Vikings, you got Jettas, and you've got Jordan Addison back out there who, if J.J. McCarthy could get them the ball, that they're going to be dangerous weapons. This feels like, unfortunately, it could be a little bit of a get back on track game for J.J. McCarthy with what we've seen out of this DB crew. So not having Kyler out there, with all that being said, I think that's going to be one that as you continue to go through the season, you got the Steelers, you got the Eagles, you got the Browns, you've got some teams that you can kind of avoid that conversation having, but you do finish with the Niners and the Lions. We know what kind of receivers those guys could bring. So hopefully Kyler Gordon is on the shorter term of that, but that is yet to be seen. Let me know how you guys feel in the comments below. I'll be down there talking with you guys as well. Wanted to update you on that news and give you an update on what we got going here at Underdog. Big shout out to the people over at Underdog for supporting the Chicago Bears podcast. I know normally we do the show this week with Jurko. I wasn't able to make it downtown this week because new studio coming, stay tapped in. There's a reason I'm in my son's room. It's not just because I got kicked out and then my wife told me to come in here. No, there's the new studio coming, so stay tapped in. So I had to be here to watch construction on that. But we did get an update from Jurko on where he wanted to go with his underdog play today. And he's got a lot of confidence in what Jay Jettis is going to be doing this week. I can't say that I blame him because, listen, what we've seen when good wide receivers are matched up on our team, right? Even the first time around, while there was a quiet first 3 quarters there for Jettis, he really got himself going. And we know what kind of player he is. To me, Justin Jefferson is a great play to add into our underdog pick'em for this week, going higher on Justin Jefferson, 68.5 receiving yards. Again, higher on Justin Jefferson, 68.5 receiving yards. And I'll be honest with you, the combination of him and Jordan Addison together, they're kind of getting it worked back together. There's some figuring out going through the rookie bumps and bruises with J.J. McCarthy, but to be honest with you, Kevin O'Connell does a great job of getting being able to attack at the weakness of a defense and making things easier on quarterbacks that we don't talk about it being very easy when you've watched them play in previous spots, i.e. Sam Darnold, right? But to me, like, seeing how he's kind of trying to work some things out with J.J. McCarthy, I wouldn't be surprised if we see some shorter routes where you're just trying to get some playmaking routes. Let's put the ball in the hands. The Bears have struggled with tackling receivers in the open field this season. The Bears have struggled with covering some top receivers in the league this season. I think that you're going to see a moderately high offensive output this coming week here. To me, the big question mark is going to be, can the Bears cover Justin Jefferson? But truly, can anybody cover Justin Jefferson when you get the ball in his hands? He had a rough week last week. I think he had 12 targets. I think he only brought 4 of those in. He's probably going to be looking for a little bit of revenge and makeup game for last week. So I look at that. Higher Jay Jettis, higher Justin Jefferson, 68.5 receiving yards as the play. And make sure that you guys are tapped into Underdog. Download the app today. Sign up with the promo code CBP to score $100 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. There's promo code CBP. Underdog. Make picks, win money. EOQ, the disclaimer.
Must be 18 years or older, 19 or older in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 or older in Colorado for some games, 21 or over in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Welcome back into the Chicago Bears podcast. Pat, the designer, back at it again. Appreciate you guys for tuning in and showing love. Another conversation that's been going around, making its way around ESPN and making its way around, of course, all the national shows and stuff like that. And I think this is an interesting one now, looking at the NFC North, because we have a quarterback that has shown a lot here through the first 9 weeks of the season, now leads the NFL in fourth quarter comebacks over the last 2 years. And to me, I think it is a great time to have this conversation after what we just saw on Monday Night Football. Where do we think that Caleb Williams ranks among the quarterbacks in the NFC North? Now, for me, when I go through a ranking, right, I do take history into account, because if you've done it before, that shows me that you can do it again. And the one thing that I can say about a couple of quarterbacks in this division is they're playoff level quarterbacks. Now, J.J. McCarthy, right, we'll take him. We'll put him down at 4 right now. He's a rookie. I'm not saying whether he's good or bad. He's not Dylan Gabriel. I'll tell you that much right now. That guy is terrible. But to me, J.J. McCarthy is kind of just figuring things out. He looks like a young quarterback that has to go through the bumps and bruises while losing some key pieces this season and kind of trying to figure out, of course, losing some time himself dealing with injury. He looks a little bit behind the 8 ball. I'm not even going to say he's definitively fourth. I'm going to say he's incomplete, right? You're really not even having a conversation about what J.J. McCarthy has done here in the NFL, because there hasn't been that much time with him on the field. Now, with the remaining 3, Jared Goff, Jordan Love, Caleb Williams, where do we feel like those rank? Let me know how you guys feel in the comments below on the 4 quarterbacks in the NFC North. To me, when I look at this, I still have Jared Goff 1. The history, him being able to go through multiple offensive coordinators and being able to go out there and put up last week 44 points, but still keeping that offense somewhat high pace. I put a lot of that on him. He's the leader of that. He's one of the main guys that has to do that. He is the guy that gets everybody organized, gets the play calls into all of the stuff that we praise Caleb for what he's doing now. And he's still doing it at a high level while sitting at 6-3. And maybe those 3 losses, I mean, the change that Dan Campbell possibly made there when he said he took over play calling up there, right? We might be seeing a completely different Jared Goff coming at the end of this season. But like, I feel like you've seen a team that has kind of stayed the course after losing Ben Johnson. Are they the same team? No. Do I think that Monty has been involved as much? Not nearly enough in my mind. But I do feel like you can't take anything away from the offense that Jared Goff has run. And so for me, he's still number one and is the best quarterback in this division right now. But what I will say is number 2 to me is a lot closer than people want to give credit to. And in that conversation, only one of the quarterbacks is making $50 million, which, of course, we know weighs it down. Now, to me, Caleb Williams loads more talented than Jordan Love. Call it homer bias, call it whatever you want. Like when I watch the 2 quarterbacks, I have always said Jordan Love is exactly what I want the Packers to have. He's just good enough to be good enough. He's not going to get you over any hump. He's not going to get you out there and set you up to dominate for years to come on his own shoulders. I feel like when you watch Jordan Love play, if he had a Devontae Adams with him, if he had star-studded wide receivers, might be a little bit more consistent. You might feel a little bit better about him. He doesn't have that right now. Clearly, I mean, the only team that was rivaling the drops that the Bears had on Sunday was the Packers on Monday. So I feel like there's talent with Jordan Love, but I don't think that Jordan Love can create some of that talent. I don't think that Jordan Love's somebody who can do it all himself and go out there and win you games on a consistent basis. And that's the advantage right now that I do think Caleb Williams has. Not to say that you want to see him do it all himself, but when I see what Caleb Williams has, and I see the growth that a quarterback has, I already knew the talent was there. I think he's actually like more talented than Jordan Love. Jordan Love has had more success. Jordan Love has had more wins. Jordan Love has had a better situation. He's got the coach, all of that. And so you still kind of keep them neck and neck in that sense. But as far as talent, give me Caleb's talent all day. On top of that, give me Caleb's contract all day right now. When we're ready to pay him, we're going to have to pay him. It's going to get ugly out here with some of the money that he's going to get. But the contract right now, I think it skews me more towards Caleb Williams and wanting to build my team moving forward with a player like that. And on top of it all, the game-winning situations when the game's on the line, I think we've seen enough from what we saw last week to what we saw this week. Like, to me, what you saw from Jordan Love is very indicative of how he's been when the pressure is at its highest. Right? Remember, rolling right, cross-body throw, looking exactly like, this isn't Detroit, man. This is the Super Bowl. When the pressure's highest, we've seen Jordan Love crumble more times than not. People want to talk, and I'm not saying that it's all on him. There's some drops that come into there. There's some issues at the receiving core that come into there. But no matter what you want to say, Caleb Williams in the clutch is an elite quarterback. And so right now, if I'm going to rank anything, give me the guy who, when you go out there and you look at his game, maybe everything's not perfect right now. He still figures some things out in the league. But when the pressure's highest, he drives you down the field and he gets the job done. That right now is Caleb Williams. When you need a big play, he's able to get you that big play. That right now is Caleb Williams. When you need somebody to get the team all rallied around him again, did you see the video that dropped? At no point did anybody on that sideline's faith waver in Caleb Williams. I don't know if you can say that about Jordan Love. And so for me, right now, I think Caleb Williams is the second best quarterback in this division. Now, again, when you look at Love, when you look at what he has, when you look at the situation he's been given, right? Maybe there's some lumps and bumps and bruises, but just from talent and getting the job done, I mean, heck, if we really look back to last season with I got to say this nicely because you can't be too disrespectful. With the generational on-the-field loser that he had in Matt Eberflus, Caleb Williams put his team in position to win probably 2 to 3 more games than they actually did. In situations where we're all sitting there going, this coaching staff sucks. I don't know what we're doing here. What is this play call? How is this going to work? When the cape needs to come on, we know that the Iceman can become Superman real quick. By the way, are we messing with the new nickname that they dropped for him, Caleb Williams? Let me know in the comments below. You messing with the nickname Iceman? They dropped that on the video. I'm kind of messing with it. When the pressure's most, we know that Caleb Williams can and will drive you down the field and put you in a position where you can win the game. Blocked field goals may happen. Defensive blunders may happen. But where you can win the game. I can't say that for Jordan Love. In fact, every situation over the last couple of years that I can think of when his team needed him to drive them down the field and put them in a position to win the game, he either got you in one of the more difficult positions or didn't put you in that position at all. I know a lot of people are going to point to, he got a game-winning, he put the team in a position to get a game-winning field goal this year. You're 100% right. You sent a guy who was a high school teacher out on the field to kick a 61-yarder to win that game. Caleb Williams, time and time again, has understood the moment, gotten his team into field goal range, whether that field goal is blocked or not, that's a different situation. But at a minimum, has gotten his team into field goal range or has scored the go-ahead touchdown. That is so important in the NFL. I get it. Is 1 through 4 perfect right now? No. Which I also don't think you could say for Jordan Love, Mr. 39 yards at the half. But the thing that has been consistent, and Jordan Love has success, has made the playoffs, all of that. But the thing that has been consistent with Jordan Love is when the pressure's highest, he's not that guy. That's not the same for Caleb Williams right now. So if I'm ranking it, I'm giving Goff his respect. I've seen Goff be that guy. It was with Ben Johnson. But I've seen Jared Goff be that guy. I've seen Caleb Williams be that guy. Heck, quiet as it's kept in the first game, I saw JJ McCarthy be that guy. I don't think that that's who he is. I think that first game he got a little excited, he got himself comfortable, all that. But I did see JJ McCarthy be that guy. But I would go Jared Goff 1, Caleb Williams 2, Jordan Love 3. And even if you want to say, Pat, you're out of your mind, it's 2, 3. It ain't that far apart, and one of them makes $50 million. You can't tell me Jordan Love is leaps and bounds better than Caleb Williams. If you want to make that argument, we can sit here and debate that. No chance. And like I said, JJ McCarthy by default 4 right now because I think he's got some things that he still needs to work on. And I just think it's incomplete. Injury season, 2 injury seasons. Maybe it's time to have the conversation. Is JJ McCarthy a little injury prone here? I just, that to me is how I would rank it. Let me know how you guys would rank it in the comments below. I appreciate you guys for tuning in and showing love. As always, man, we will be back and better than ever tomorrow, heading back up to Halas Hall to do the show with Courtney Cronin tomorrow. So that'll be fun. Of course, getting to talk to the coaching staff and being able to get some insight from the locker room as well. But hey, man, appreciate y'all for tuning in and showing love. As always, it's your boy, Pat the Designer. Back at it again. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Let me know how you guys feel in the comments below. Bear down. One love. Peace.
Your roof's got more layers than a conspiracy podcast.
Is that a sandwich wrapper?
Ah, yes. Vintage 1988. It really builds character.
Avondale Roofing. Inspect smarter, dig deeper, and get to the core of your roof's health.